Welcome to the Zaleski Sports Show. Jason Zaleski here. Dan Ross, faithfully and trustfully to my left. On today's show, we're going to talk to you about 3 magazines, and we're going to talk about playoffs.
It's all yours, and it's all now.
All right, let's get on to it because we've got a lot of playoffs here to talk about today. Other stuff on these channels coming up at the top of the hour, so stay tuned. But to start with, Dan, let's go one at a time here on the magazines. Dan will hold up my Dan Ross, Vanna White, if you're old enough to know who Vanna White is. A lot of people don't.
She's still on TV.
I know.
She's not the
she's 70,
sex symbol
isn't
that
she?
she used to be.
I think she's 70. Something.
Probably,
yeah. Good for her. Because she's got a new host, right? Seacrest is now
Yep.
He's telling the kids to spin the wheel now.
It's not a hard job.
Well, no, it's really not. You or I could do it. Yeah, especially when they light it for you. They light it. And okay. Anyway, what do we? This is Medford. Yeah. So let's see. Colby Quick Trip, Abbotsford County Market, Stetsonville C Store, Medford County Market, the Torpedo, Thorpe, Super Value, and the Withy BP. You can read about all those schools and those towns I mentioned, and then Medford football on the cover. They are red hot, and they are looking.
They're very good this year.
They are looking to take Mosney's lunch on Friday, and we'll have that game live for you here at Zaleski Sports. Stevens Point, Mosney cross country on the cover. They must be doing something there in Mosney.
They're running.
Put the kids on the cover. That means something good happened over there. Boy, almost every Quick Trip in Stevens Point, Plover Metro Mart, Iola, Amico, the Century Foods, Doug, the manager over there at Century Foods in Iola, Amherst Family Foods, Amherst BP, Gorski's in Mosinee, Lee's Piggly Wiggly, and a couple places in Rothschild.
Also brewing?
Also brewing here in Stevens Point. We got the whole list up on social media, and we wish there were more businesses open. I mean, like, not open because they're closed today, but just in business in Rothschild. We'd like to do more over there, but that's a story for a different day. And then our Marshfield magazine, Marshfield football.
They're hot.
Playoff eligible.
Hot right now.
Playoff eligible. I had almost left them for dead at the homecoming
I think you
game.
did. I think we left that homecoming game saying,
I did.
You know what? At least they got this one.
I did. Yeah. It was a fun pregame show to be at. That's where my fun somewhat ended that night. Anyway,
if the Tiger was there, it'd have been better.
It would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Marshfield, Pick and Save, Festival Foods, Chips Hamburgers, Blenker BP, Draxler's of Hewitt, Stratford Senex, Spencer A&W, the Quick Trip over in Greenwood, and Russell's of Neilsville is where you pick up that one. And again, all those schools and all those towns I mentioned, all featured in all these magazines. Get one now. They are fresh. They were just, they've all been printed in the last 24 hours. Some of them were just printed, the Stevens Point issue just printed a couple hours ago.
They're hot. 3 in a row, right? 3 wins in a row?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into it. Football brackets. Yeah, I know.
Brackets.
Right? It's our second show, our second time telling you about brackets. There have been some changes. We've warned of that. With the small sample size, we're talking about mathematical values. How many games have you played? How many have you won and lost? Who have you played? How have they won and lost? There's a very small sample size in football, so there's a lot of movement in this. But I want to get back to that in just a second. I want to tell you all and tell the Volleyball Coaches Association how disappointed I am in each and every one of you. Because, well, here's why, Dan, right? I'm mostly serious about this. I know I can do nothing about it except sit here and rant, but here's the rant anyway. Here we are talking about football playoffs. And you and I are going to talk about football playoffs for 5 hours on Friday.
Yep.
In our Red Zone channel, Revisited. Starts at 6 p.m. on Friday. We're going to talk about all the teams that are just on the bubble on playoffs. We're going to keep track of their scores all night long for you. You'll have one place to tune in if you want to know final playoff teams. So we're going to do that for 5 hours on Friday night. Football playoffs, right? Saturday, we've got a whole bunch of football coaches from around the state. I'm talking about the entire state calling in, talking about playoffs. Well, here we are, less than a week from the start of volleyball playoffs. We don't know anything about it. We don't know the seeds, we don't know the matchups, the brackets, and it's all being withheld. It's a very fragmented situation. Some of the groups, some of the sections have had their meeting a couple days ago. Some are having it now, some are having it later tonight. And a big chance for us to help shine a light on the sport of volleyball, because playoff time is
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday, and playoffs are so fun. And that's why we're talking about all this stuff, playoffs. And yet, that sport won't tell us anything about their playoffs. And it's less than a week away.
No, I was at the Wausau West volleyball game last night, and I have a niece on the team. And I asked her what was going on with regionals, right? Playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? And
Starting.
she said, we don't know. We think we're the 12.
Nobody knows.
But like she doesn't know.
Oh,
right?
why does
She's
it
on
have
a
to
team.
be a
She has no
secret?
idea.
Stop it. It shouldn't be a secret. We should be here doing a half hour on volleyball playoffs, then a half hour on football playoffs or something else. But instead, you won't tell us your playoff seeds. You won't tell us who's playing on Tuesday. Here we are a few days away from it. You won't tell us. It's a disservice to your sport, volleyball coaches. It's a disservice to your sport.
Yeah, and my frustration is that we've had computer seating in most sports for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it obviously works pretty well.
Works extremely well.
Right? Why not? I know that there's discrepancies, and some teams play 50 games, some play 30. That's enough games. Like the numbers would be okay.
Yeah, and honestly, the teams that are on the smaller end of that spectrum, if they play a team on the larger end of games played, it's not going to matter anyway what seed that you were.
No.
We probably know who's going to win that game anyway. Okay, so back to the sport that lets us cover it, football.
Yeah.
And here we go, because they have computerized seating, because after years of research and experimentation and reverse engineering and just being really intelligent people around here, we do happen to know what's going on. Again, the one caution is this is the one automated sport that's not totally automated in its postseason process, where football commissioner Tom Shafransky, who runs a great show for his sport, they do allow themselves to come in with their hand and manipulate the brackets a little bit to attempt to even them out. For example, if there are undefeated conference champions in the same area of the state in the same division, they will separate them.
Yeah, they're seated.
They
you don't want to have four powerhouses play in the same bracket.
No, I talked about the word disservice. That would be a disservice to those teams. And so they get separated naturally and healthily. Okay, so that's the disclaimer on this. But as we talked about last week, the home teams I'm going to mention, they're going to be home. The road teams I mentioned, they're going to be on the road. You can bank on that. And then you can plan appropriately for the playoffs, which for football begin in 9 days, because the last regular season games for a small section of teams are on Thursday. That's tomorrow. Everybody else is on Friday. 179 games on Friday. And a lot of them are going to go a long ways towards determining football playoffs, whether you're in or out, and then where you'll be seated. So first we start in 8-player football. How's that sound?
I love it.
Okay. In 8-player football, we have 16 playoff teams. That will change in the next 2 years. I can almost guarantee it. 16 doesn't seem like enough as we sit here today. Number one seed in, we don't have these regionalized anymore, but that's all right. The number one seed.
Looks like northwest.
Okay. Number one seeds in 8-player, Newman Catholic, the Cardinals, the Fighting Cardinals. Owen Withy Blackhawks having a fantastic season.
They're really good this year.
Having a fantastic season.
They're the favorites, I would say.
Yeah. Highland is the one seed. And Lena St. Thomas Aquinas, also a one seed coming down. So
Oakfield in that bracket. They're
the Oaks.
8-man powerhouse.
The Oakfield Oaks have been fun to watch through the years. Okay. And let's see what I have here. Let's move now to Division 7. That was Division 8.
I looked at Division 7. That's the only one I looked at.
You did?
Because they came out slow over the day.
And you looked at it how? Because you went to ZaleskiSports.com and you clicked VIP.
That's
You're already
right.
a member.
That's right.
You're one of the legacy members, right? One of the originating 6 members on there, something like that. Yeah, so Division 7, not a lot changed from last week. And again, I want to go back to that. I said I would, so let's do it now. Change, right? we keep this up to the minute, so to us it's a change. To the football teams that find out their official seed on Saturday, it's the only seed they've ever been, right? But because we keep up to the minute with this, and because you watch the show and are a VIP member at ZaleskiSports.com, you also see the change. Does that make sense, right?
Yeah.
They don't really change. We're just waiting for all of the win-loss tallies to come in, but we keep track of it along the way. So it's fun to look at the ebb and flow.
I am interested with this bracket.
Of the brackets. You are, huh? Okay.
Interested in the 3 seed.
In this one,
Because that's an undefeated team.
Blackhawk Warren.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there could be some debate there. So undefeated conference champ. Well,
Although they have an undefeated versus undefeated matchup Friday. So it's going to take care of itself.
so there is likely then some projection in that. Well, they're 7-1.
They
I
lost
have here.
once.
Yeah. So that's why they're in there
Gotcha.
like they
Okay.
are. Okay, undefeated in their conference, but they're not undefeated overall.
Yeah, I don't have all 500 teams memorized, but
Well, that's why we're here to talk this
Yeah,
through and,
yeah.
and find out exactly what's going on. And the team they lost was an out-of-state team. So that's
in
well,
Illinois,
it is.
Iowa.
Well, it's it's an out-of-state team which gets graded at a 500. It doesn't count as a win or a loss in the seeding formula.
But if they win Friday against Potosi, then they're gonna jump up, I bet.
Yeah, well, you would certainly think that
Because they are
wouldn't you?
undefeated. I know they are.
Yeah. Yep, and then there'd be some reshuffling, and then as we titled it last year, the hand of God will come in,
Yes.
and likely then in that case, probably move Blackhawk Warren out of this bracket and into the other.
Yeah,
bracket.
playing out of state and getting penalized as a 500 team, like I don't know how else you do it, but
Well, right, because we have no idea how good or not the Iowa team is. We have no idea.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So there, cat's out of the bag. There, we've got Blackhawk Warren, who's a regular at Camp Randall in Madison, slated as the 3 seed right now, but a home game, right? No matter win or lose, and they're probably not going. Well, I shouldn't say that. Win or lose, you're looking at a home game
Yeah.
for Blackhawk Warren. Johnson Creek, the 1 seed.
Maybe a rematch.
that,
Maybe a Madison rematch this year. That would be interesting.
Okay, well, here it is. Here are the Edgar Wildcats coming in as the 1 seed. Pretty much, Dan, where they've been all season. Now we didn't track it since week 1. You can't put any mathematicals on a 1 game season. But a very good football team all year long and continue to be good. They finish up at Abbotsford, who I'm going to talk about extensively here soon as a case study in this whole thing. Edgar comes in as the 1 seed. They're going to host a home game.
A loss to Stratford,
Yeah.
which is a really good loss, obviously.
Well, it's an
And then-
undefeated team. Stratford
and then
is,
they beat a 2-loss Ladysmith team out of conference.
Yep.
They have
which is also very good.
good numbers.
Very good numbers. Very high seed score, as it's called. Other home, it looks like, other home games or teams with home games, Iola Scandinavia, Roncalli, and Crivets. So that's that.
Roncalli is a trip.
The Jets.
Yeah.
Yep. Spring Valley comes in also as a 1. They beat Boyceville last week.
Yep.
So they were both undefeated, looking to be undefeated conference champs. They both have lesser opponents this week. So Spring Valley looks to be locked as the 1 and Boyceville as the 2.
It was a
in this
1-point
particular
game.
Group. Yeah, it was a
was
great
probably a
game,
good
I'm
game.
sure.
Yeah.
Great game, I'm sure. And then you mentioned it, Potosi Cassville, who has a very difficult game against Blackhawk Warren on Friday. It'll be a game Dan and I will talk about often from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Friday. You'll watch us live right here. But we'll talk about that one often because that has
Our computer's going to have steam coming out of them.
that has number 1 seed implications left and right all over it there. So okay, well that's Division 7, and and again we're cruising past some of these. You can see them all. ZaleskiSports.com. Just click VIP. Just going with our density of viewers and how who may be watching and who it may affect there. As we move to Division 6, Cambridge it looks to be a 1 seed coming up, along with Lomira, Coleman, and Regis. So I want to just pause there for a second. Regis, undefeated conference champion, and they will remain so. It looks like after their game this week. As teams become playoff eligible or maybe lost a game last week and now it looks like they won't make the playoffs, we had Abbotsford in this group, in this kind of western group. Abbotsford's in a unique spot on the map. They're somewhat centrally located, but a little bit north and a little bit west of center. When those lines get drawn, Abbotsford's right in the corner, they're right in the crosshair, really. As the teams fluctuated, Abbotsford now looks to be in
Northeast.
in more of a northeastern section. So again, they're right on those crosshairs. They can go one of really four ways. They can be in any bracket, really, depending who's playoff eligible on a year-by-year basis. In Division 6, as it turns out, Auburndale a little more east, so they're not as likely to be in a western kind of configuration. A couple things changed for Abbotsford. They were a 3 seed last week, is the first thing. We have them now as a 5, which is a huge difference.
Yes.
Because that means a road game for the Abbotsford Falcons. Why did that happen? Why a 3 to a 5? And by the way, I looked, and if the hand of God does or doesn't move some teams around, Abbotsford is still a 5 or a 6 in any other bracket in Division 6. Why did that happen? From last week being a 3 to this week being a 5. Well, here's what happened. They played a dreadful Rochelle team, for one. So a team that does not have a win on the season, and when you look at strength of schedule, your opponent's record, their score is going to drop, and it dropped significantly. Again, a small sample size, 7 versus 8 games, still pretty small on the sample size.
Well, they can make up for it.
Maybe. I still don't think they will, though. Here's why. Okay, I know what you're saying. Well, they play Edgar. Edgar's got a great record, right? They're 7-1. Even if we lose, we're going to play a team that's 8-1. So we look at the teams around them. How could they move up? Well, Nakusa, who sits on the 4 line, who they would travel to, Abbotsford would at this point. Nakusa, win or lose, plays who has just 1 loss on the season, plays a 1-loss Wisconsin Dells. So their strength of schedule will improve if they lose, and won't. And of course, if they win, they're going to keep their distance from Abbotsford.
Yeah.
So let's just go with the theory here. If they lose, well, their strength of schedule now shows an 8-1 Wisconsin Dells team. If Abbotsford loses, well, they also show an 8-1 Edgar team. So there isn't any room for Abbotsford to move up in the math. Math just doesn't work out like that.
Yeah, I mean, if Abbotsford wins, they go 8-1. Nakusa loses 7-2, so they lose winning percentage, but the strength of schedule is a bigger component of it. So
it is.
Yeah.
And I looked earlier, and the one thing that's really going to drag Abbotsford down in the seed math, again, just to continue in this case study, their week 1 opponent, Loyal Greenwood, only 1 win on the year. Now, I can see the idea there. Loyal Greenwood was a brand new 11-player team this year. They weren't on the schedule. Not until this past summer. So Abbotsford chose, came to some agreement to play Loyal Greenwood, hoping now that Loyal Greenwood was a lot better, because that's going to keep them. The game against Loyal Greenwood is, in the end, in the math, going to keep Abbotsford from a home playoff game.
Yeah, and their win against Colby was awesome on paper, and that hasn't really panned out either.
No, Colby's got a few wins. They're probably even playoff eligible, but not enough.
Yeah.
Not enough wins. So the 2 non-conference games, but the one win Loyal Greenwood is going to be the anchor to Abbotsford's home game playoff hopes.
Yeah, we're going to say, I promise we're going to say it a lot on Friday.
Yeah.
But coaches, athletic directors, you get 2 non-conference games, and if you're interested in hosting a playoff game, schedule some teams that are going to have a good record.
That's right.
Even if you lose them.
Even if you lose them, right? If you think your team has a chance to be good, has a chance to be playoff eligible, and again, these days about 70-75% of the teams are, let the other 25% of those teams play each other in your non-conference. Right?
Yeah.
Don't play them. Don't play them. It will keep you on the road in the playoffs, as it will Abbotsford this year. It so appears. Okay, so that's the case study. Yeah, here comes Colby as the 8 seed in that group. So, you beat Colby. They turn out to be an 8 seed. That's not going to help either.
It's true.
And perhaps, again, I wasn't in the scheduling room. Abbotsford probably thought Colby was going to be a lot better.
Why wouldn't they be good?
Yeah.
They're good every year.
Yep. And it's a nice game to play because you're 2 miles apart.
Yep.
So that's a nice fit. Good for the bus budget.
Literally
and
2
other
miles.
things. Yeah. If the football lights are on, you can see each other from the press box. So Colby on the road as an 8 seed. not having the year that they likely wanted either. Auburndale, though, stays on the 3 line. They were a 4 seed, or they stay on the home line, I should say. They were a 4 seed last week, had picked up a nice win on last week on Friday, and win on this coming Friday gives Auburndale a home playoff game.
Yeah, I wonder if the hand of God doesn't get involved, if Abbotsford does go 8-1, like, do you really put them on the road? That would be interesting. It's
a case study. That's why. That's why we talk a lot about this one. Where I could probably talk about any other team for 10 minutes except for Abbotsford. It's a great case study.
Yeah.
And we'll likely do a debrief next week, and maybe even play it on this show with Football Commissioner Tom Shafransky.
Even 7-2, that would be a good question for Tom.
Okay. Well, put it on the list. We'll see about talking to Tom. As we move to Division 5, the number one in Division 5 are the Stratford Tigers. They beat Amherst handily. They finished them off in the second half. They were trading touchdowns in the first half. You and I were on the sideline.
Yes.
They were trading touchdowns with Amherst. But that game for Amherst becomes extremely important, even on the loss. And so it's not a case study, but go ahead with Stratford if you had any comments there.
It was the first time that I saw Stratford in person. I was really impressed with Tubbs as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Really impressed.
Became the team's all-time leading passer on Friday night.
And he got banged up, but after the game, he said he was going to be okay.
Yeah.
A little defensively, maybe a little weak. A little weaker than I thought, maybe, for a 8-0, like, number one team.
Yeah.
If that defense gels in the next 3-4 weeks, that's a state title team.
Amherst really came after him in that first quarter.
Yeah.
Had a big kick return that led to a touchdown and some other things. And, special teams won the title for Stratford last year. Maybe let them down a little bit on Friday night. We'll see how they practice this week. I bet they practice a lot on teams this week. Looked a little shaky on Friday at times.
Had a hard time stopping the run.
Yeah.
Really did.
Kiel's the number 2 overall team in Division 5, but no hand of God needed there. They are separated from Stratford on the map, so number 1 seed there. What happened since last week is Amherst and Wrightstown switched spots.
Amherst went up.
Amherst went up. Well, hold on, Zaleski. They lost, and my Wrightstown Tigers won. Yeah, that's true. But math is math. It's absolute, and that strength of schedule boost from Stratford being 8-0 was enough to put Amherst to the 2 line and play Wrightstown as a 3. Why is that important, Zaleski and Ross? Because it lets Amherst host the level 2 game instead of Wrightstown.
It's huge.
Big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal if these seeds pan out. We think that they will, though. So, going in and losing a game lets you host the game against the team you supplanted on that line.
Who do they play Friday?
Amherst on Friday. You like asking me crazy. Yeah, it's on the back there.
Wittenberg Burnham.
You tell me who they play. Okay.
Wittenberg, and they are the 4 seed.
It's going to be,
So that's a good game.
Very difficult for Wrightstown to catch Amherst if Amherst Falcons win.
Yeah.
Very difficult. Not enough math left, I don't think. This is so much fun talking, too, because in 20 days we get this all on election night, right? We get all the precincts coming in.
That is true.
These
That's what we need. We need a
numbers.
map behind us, like a touchscreen map that we can draw circles on and stuff.
Well, someday, right? Someday. St. Mary Springs, regular at Camp Randall, number 1 seed, along with the Scientist in Milwaukee. So there's Division 5, the wrap-up there. Division 4. Go ahead.
Division 3, Division 4, more boring for me.
A little bit, yeah. Not a lot of our audience, our regular audience. You've all watched, and I know you watch all across the state because we see all the zip codes come in and all the cities. But density, we talk about density of viewers, not necessarily in West Salem or St. Croix Central.
It's like Division 3 in basketball. Like,
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of schools in the area. Yeah.
Mosney Indians, though, are one of them. They come in as the 4 seed. They are right on that home host line.
That's
right
a surprise
now.
a little bit to me.
Well, a little bit. Now, again, it looks like Medford kind of rolling right now. They're going to come into Mosney. I would be worried if I were the Mosney Indians on Friday night. Just how well Medford's playing. It's a rivalry that goes back many years. Each team wants to win that game so badly. Edge goes to Medford for me in that one. So what happens if Mosney were to lose? Yeah, could cost them the home game in level 1.
Yeah, they're going to get a bump because I think Medford has 1 loss.
Be a nice strength of schedule. Yep, they do. Yeah, Medford lost their opening game, and then that's been it.
Yeah, it really depends on how the other teams play too.
A lot, right? A lot. Travis Wilson on X, if you don't follow, do.
He's a good follow.
He's got good information. We hope to talk to Travis during our show on Friday. He's going to give us some more information. But he talked about it's on Friday night. If you're on that bubble, hope the teams that you've already played win on Friday night. That was the message there, and that rings true for us as well. Wapaka Comets on the road, it looks like, as a 6 seed. So
how many wins do they have?
A few.
Like, are they that tiebreaker, I wonder? Like,
yeah, let's find out.
Because I don't know if they have 4 conference wins.
They have tree conference wins,
okay.
So very likely.
So they're probably okay.
Very likely in.
Yeah.
Wapaka. Well, here, let's take it a step further. They play Xavier also with 3 wins. So win for the Packets, the Comets. Maybe they go to the Packets, the Wapaka Packets.
The winners in the playoffs, the losers on the bubble.
In for sure. And again, we'll be keeping track of that on Friday right here from 6 to 11. Dan and I will be keeping track. That's one game we'll have on our big board. Trevor's designing designing the big board that people will look at while we're talking. Okay, so Wapaka. Yeah, I mean, win or lose, lose if they're in, they're likely still on that 6 line.
Traveling to number 3, Aquinas.
Yeah.
That is a trip.
Yeah, it's a trip. And Aquinas, reigning state champions in Division 5. Tough game for the Comets.
Yeah, what's interesting is as we go up in divisions, the schools come further south, generally speaking, right?
Yeah.
So
bigger the schools are in the southern part of the state.
Yeah, so we saw Wapaka, and they're with Baldwin, Woodville, and there's some of the Southwest teams and the Northwest teams. Like this is just like a throw everything at the wall.
It's tough to place.
Yeah.
When you're one of one in a whole 8-county area of the state.
Yeah, I mean we have St. Croix Central.
Yeah. It's tough.
Aquinas.
Yeah.
Wapaka.
It's tough, but Wapaka went westward last year as well, so they remember it well. Columbus, Division 4 we're talking about, Racine St. Catharines, and Winneconne. The Winneconne Wolves.
They are one of Travis Wilson's games of the week to vote for this week. I don't remember who they play, but
good luck to the
they're
Wolves.
On there.
Good luck to the Wolves. Move to Division 3. We've mentioned Medford a number of times. They are solidly on the 1 line. Wausau East looks to be hosting a home game as the 3, and one of Merrill's biggest sports fans contacted me during the week. Hey, when are this week's brackets coming out? Like on Wednesday. Oh, good, okay. Well, there they are. Merrill Blue Jays still look to be a road team, although creeping up a little bit on the 5 line. I think they were on the 6 last week, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because I know the Blue Jays lost, or I seem to remember. They lost to Tomahawk 17-11. Didn't do themselves any favors in that game. According to this, scored a safety in the 4th quarter, did the Blue Jays. According to this, Jason Wadzinski and his team should rather concern themselves with beating Rhinelander on Friday.
Well, they
right
have
now
to
they're
win.
out.
Yeah, they have to win to get in.
Merrill Blue Jays are out right now, but a win at Rhinelander, which we are obviously projecting, would put Merrill on the 5 line.
Merrill has to win. Lakeland has to win to make it.
Yep, and there's Lakeland on the 7 line right there, set to get pounded by Notre Dame.
Yes. Yeah, in the Great Northern, we talked about this, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago, probably on the air. Yeah. The Great Northern, usually they don't win these tiebreakers, but they all won. They went out and they won in the non-conference, up and down.
Yeah, and you look, Medford 6 conference wins, Mosinee 5, Wausau East 4, and then you got Merrill, Anago, Lakeland, and Tomahawk all with 2.
Yeah,
and so
they're all beating each other,
and some of them are playing each other again this week. So a good chance there. Again, I said we wouldn't do any more case studies, but Wausau East having a tremendous year. Again, they are not so far removed to wondering if they were going to have a football program.
I think it's been 12 years since they made the playoffs.
Well. And so they're on a bit of a heater. They've won 3 of their past 4. They beat Mosinee, big win for Wausau East there. Just big win for the team and the program, but big win for playoff consideration as well and seed prospects. And then beat Merrill, beat Lakeland, and they are at Anago.
And they'll beat Anago.
Most likely over at Anago,
but I tell you what helps with this is you leave the Valley Conference and go to the Great Northern.
Yeah.
And you're no longer the smallest fish in this huge pond.
Right.
Now you're an appropriate size.
Well, yeah, more suited to the type of school enrollment of Wausau East.
Yeah.
So good for that. They made the right decision there.
Yes.
Okay, moving to Division 2.
This is sexy. This is sexy.
You like it, huh?
Yeah, I do.
All right. New Richmond. Tigers and Tigers. My Marshfield Tigers, even though they had a nice win on Friday, still sit on the 8 line. Win or lose Marshfield is in the playoffs. Win or lose against Stevens Point on Friday. Win or lose, they will be on the road. So there's not a whole lot left for Marshfield to accomplish other than, I don't know what you would even what title to put on it, but if they were to beat Stevens Point on Friday night, you'd figure Stevens Point's the favorite in that game. But let's just say Marshfield's playing a little bit better.
Marshfield's playing better, yeah.
They would find themselves alone in second place in the conference and be an 8 or a 7 seed. Because just the way that their season went, the teams that they lost to.
And this is an incredibly difficult bracket.
Yeah, one thing Marshfield is up against is Menominee. The Mustangs with 2 wins on the year. That was not expected for Menominee. So we talk about non-conference and scolding some of these teams for scheduling cupcakes. Let's just say it. Marshfield did not.
Yeah.
They just had misfortune of those non-conference
big
games
river schools
losing out as the season went on. Okay. What else in here?
New Richmond, Rice Lake, River Falls, Menominee, Marshfield. Just Murderer's Row.
Murderer's Row is right.
Yeah.
And
Holman's a good team too.
Yep. Looks like a collision course. It'll be Rice Lake at New Richmond in a level 3 game is what it looks like there to me.
Rematch.
It would be a conference rematch.
Yeah.
Yep. The Galloping Ghosts, the 1 seed, took a loss last week to Kimberly. Still the 1 seed there. Again, you get the strength of schedule from Kimberly. So nicely done there. West Pier sits on the 2 line in that particular group.
If you're playing in a conference and your conference opponents are winning their non-conference games, especially against good teams, it's going to help you out.
Interesting here in Division 2 as to where that map is drawn. Now Germantown, unless they lost last week, let's take a quick peek there because I didn't look at that before. Like you, Dan, I don't know all the records and schedules of all 400 football teams.
Of the greater metro schools?
Yeah. So Germantown did win last week, but slide a little bit in the seeding. So interesting there. Slinger, the 1 team. Again, most of our viewers out of that area, except for the fact that we have Germantown and Sussex Hamilton as a game on our viewing schedule this week. A game you should watch. These are 2 good teams playing each other. And if you're a regular Central Wisconsin or Northern Wisconsin fan of ours, I will tell you, avert your eyes from your regular game and watch Germantown and Hamilton. That's going to be a good football game and 2 really good teams and some bigger schools going at it there.
And Germantown might have to win to host.
I think so. I think so. That's what it looks like now when I went back and looked at their situation. Badger, a 1 seed there. No real surprise there. So that's Division 2, and as we wrap up here with these brackets, again, you can see them in full. All, how many qualifying teams are there here? 32 times 7, you can do that math. 240, something like that.
Yeah, plus 16 8-man.
And then 16 8-man. You see them all at Zaleski
It's like
Sports.
260 or something. Yeah.
See them all at ZaleskiSports.com. Click VIP. It's $5. And $5 a month. Okay. Kimberly, the 1 seed, was moved to Division 1. There's no doubt about that. Some change, though, here. DC Everest was, at last look a week ago, online to host Stevens Point. They played each other in a double overtime bedlam game. Stevens Point was down. Stevens Point was down by 21 in the 4th quarter. You never see a comeback like that in high school football. But they were the Spash Panthers, but DC Everest does pull out in the overtime. So Everest, though, for all their efforts, they stay on the 4 line. They stay to host, just because the 3 and the 2 just too far to go, too much math to make up there. Not enough strength of schedule for DC Everest to make that leap out of the 4 spot. That win, though, solidifies them having a home game on level 1, which is the good news. The other news is you will travel to Kimberly if you're able to win that level 1 game and might meet the end of your season over in Kimberly. For Stevens Point, though, they fall. They fall from the 5 to the 6. Again, the loss hurts. And interestingly, as it sits now, they travel to Chippewa Falls, but Chippewa Falls and Menominee playing each other, and a loss for Chippewa Falls would drop them and give Spash a chance to move up. Likely, though, with the loss, even a Marshfield win is not going to be enough to host a home playoff game for the Panthers, but a chance to maybe get a more favorable game against, well, in this case, be back at DC Everest.
So two things. Like, who wouldn't want to see Everest Spash again, right? Because that was such a great
Sign
game.
me up.
The other thing on this bracket is if I had to list the teams 1 to 8, this is probably it.
Yeah, it passes the smell test, as they say here. And so no hand of God needed in this particular bracket in Division 1.
It just seems fair.
The Verona Ball Club is the number 1 seed. I think they're the Panthers, but I say that and now I probably get scolded for that. And Mukwonago, so a change here. Mukwonago moves from 2 to 1. Franklin moves from 1 to 2.
Franklin's really good.
Franklin is really good. I'm not sure if that passes my eye test. We'll see. There's still games we played on Friday. We'll keep track of both Franklin and Mukwonago. They're fairly close in the seed score. We'll see what happens, wins and losses, and then strength of schedule. Again, all of those games that Franklin and Mukwonago played before now, right? So the other 8 games, how will those teams do? Do they win or lose? And who they played, will they win or lose? It's that close where part of that strength of schedule are your opponent's records, and then part of that is your opponent's records, and it could come down to that for those two.
Yeah, I hope that
likely does come down to that.
Yeah, so optics here, right?
Okay.
I think Franklin is the number 1 team in the coaches poll. I think they're number 1 in Division 1 now.
Okay.
I might be wrong. I might be talking out my rear. But I hope that if they are the number 1 team in the state, that the hand of God helps them be a 1 seed somewhere.
Well,
just for optics.
Could happen.
Sake,
right? That's certainly possible. Let's see here. What you mentioned the coaches. I don't have my VIP open right now, but you can see the full rankings on VIP as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we have. I think we also have Franklin as. Well, we can't, right? Because probably have Mukwonago as number 1.
Mukwonago's probably ahead of them.
Yeah. Because we do our rankings by the seed score, so that all factors up. Interesting there, again, the 2 and the 1 line, very important, because the 1 hosts the level 3 game, and that's very important. You get to be in your own locker room. You don't have to get on a bus, even though it's not that far from Franklin and Mukwonago, but just all the fidgeting around in the bus and loading your equipment in the bus and all that, when all you got to do at your own home school is just walk from the parking lot over.
I'm guessing that Franklin is number 1 by the coaches. Mukwonago number 3 with a loss. So we'll have to see.
Okay, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting what will happen. That'll be another one we'll ask Tom Shafransky about when we talk to him next week, should he so oblige.
I have a feeling that it'll work itself out. That's what I think.
Probably. And then Oconomowoc. Oconomowoc has been a good team all season long. They're deserving of the 1 seed. And like you've said before, it looks right. So there we go. Okay, we have taken up all of our time, but I think wisely spent on that. And as we always do, we give Dan Ross the last word around here about what we talked about, or anything he wants to talk about.
Yeah, so we talk about this every year, and unfortunately on Friday, there's a lot of seniors playing their last football games.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's the worst part of the sports season. It's the worst part about being a parent, obviously, of a student athlete.
Yeah, if it's your only kid or your last kid, it's a big change for the moms and dads too.
Yeah, and it's really sad. So cherish the memories. If you're a student athlete, if you're a football player watching us, thank you. Cherish the moment, right? Because these are memories that you're going to remember for the rest of your life. Jason and I still talk about sports from 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because it's fun to and remember. Just fun to remember and reminisce.
Yeah. Don't look forward to it being over. Relish it. Cherish it for the next couple of weeks.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dan. Those are good words to end with. And that'll do it for now. A couple football games on tomorrow. Plus, we've got volleyball. I think there's even a rogue soccer game out there tomorrow.
Pink game tomorrow. Pink game.
Yeah. Dan's over at Wausau East, and so good luck to you over there. You get flooded with gifts and merchandise. And
I hope so.
Kinds of free stuff over there. Probably they bring you a bag of popcorn too. And then Friday, again, we'll be here. Show starts at 6 o'clock. We'll be in studio from 6 to 11. taking you through all these things we talked about. We will take you minute by minute, touchdown by touchdown through those on Friday. And then set your alarms Saturday, 1 p.m. We've got football coaches from all over the state calling in to talk to us about playoffs.
The brackets are out at 10 o'clock or 10:30
something
or something?
between 10 and noon. Yeah, as they hit the buttons.
I'm guessing you're going to have them early, though.
That'll do it for now, gang. Have a great rest of your night. Go Sports!
Sports!